I always thought about harming myself.
I'm shy. I struggled with making friends.
I never thought I could do anything. I have extremely low self esteem.
Lately, I've been eating my pain away. Just throw it back up. I've been struggling to lose weight. Somebody said I don't fit in just because I wear my hair the way I like it.
1 out of 5 American girls suffer from mental health problems. Don't be that girl. Talk to someone.
Those thoughts I had are long gone, for I have a future I need to get to.
In order to get better, I had to do better. I learned how to make friends.
I believe in myself. That's when everyone else did, I set an example.
Instead of me eating everything, I started watching my calories. The weight is falling off. I went to change my hair, but I decided it was for me. It's for me.
A PSA from the Curvy Girl Project.
Brought to you by the Detroit Native Sun. Valerie Lockhart is the publisher, and I have a guest here today, very special guest, Larry Alexander. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Today we are going to talk about a few things that we have going on. Fearless Minds, this is our official debut to our ministry. So I'm so excited to have my partner here in life and business, and we're just going to share what we're doing and who we are as a whole, as a ministry.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, do you want to introduce who you are and how we came about? Because I love that story, so you tell it best.
That story.
Our story.
But yeah, I'm Larry Alexander. I am Vice President of Fearless Minds. Under Chief Silent Storm here, our beautiful and astonishing president. We are a nonprofit of many different services. You want me to go into the details of the...
Well, actually, first, I think we should announce your chief name officially.
Really?
You know, we haven't really said it. So, yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Chief Miko.
And what does that mean?
Chief.
That's simple, right? I love
simple.
it. Yeah, so we had another chief name for him, but it did not fit. We couldn't stop laughing every time we announced it. So I announced to you Chief Miko.
Well, as Chief Miko, I received the welcoming, and this is, it is different, you know, to carry that name and be a part of a new nation. Mm-hmm. And so I'm adapting, I'm learning, I'm receiving, I'm understanding my position, my role, the culture, the history, and what it is. So I'm enjoying myself in this life, in this new life.
You heard it here first, because he's not always felt that way. It's kind of been a journey. And just to share, I am a chief of the Iroquois. And we are working with a number of different tribes, and everything under the sun we talk about, we have resources for, and it's just something to uplift humanity truly. And I'm excited to have found a partner to help with the journey. Nation is not an easy task, and
Likewise.
Fearless Minds is a ministry for the mindset. So it's not your traditional ministry, but mindset is very important. My father took his life 7 years ago, February, so I didn't want that stigma attached to our family legacy, so I had to do something different. And so with God leading the way, of course, I was led to create Fearless Minds, which is a ministry, and I said it and forgot it. And this was before pandemic 2020. And shortly after, it's been a journey with spirituality. It's not an easy thing, but when you answer to God and you hear your calling, I said yes. So with that being said, it's not about myself. It's all about uplifting humanity and doing the works of God. And I found my partner.
Absolutely. And I receive it. It's been a welcoming experience and a new way of life for myself as well. I appreciate you. I adore you. You know, your whole you, your aura and all. And the journey that I have taken, you know, to even be here today has been an experience in itself. And before, you know, meeting you and taking on this calling, this responsibility, and walking anew, boy, it was so difficult.
It was. And I think, like, there's no manual that comes with this. So it was kind of like we were doing our own thing. Like you always often refer, I was doing Larry.
Yeah.
And so when you give it over to God, it's no longer yourself. So it's like getting in a car and allowing God to just drive that car and trusting it no matter what it looks like or how it feels. And I can say personally, like, I have had so much growth in the last 9 months with you, but personally and spiritually. And it's just a different thing, a different journey. So we'll get into how we met. And then it's important for me to use this platform for others to see what it costs. There's always a cost to your assignment and to your purpose. And oftentimes people don't understand it, so they give up. And so I use this platform to showcase what it is and in hopes to give some inspiration to others.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah, so go ahead. Let's start our story. How did we meet and what did that look like? And then we'll, go from there.
Well, 4 scores and many years ago. No, last summer, I was contacted by a friend who wanted me to, come along for a ride to, be introduced to some persons and make sense of some business opportunities that was on the table. And this was in, my moment of healing from a vehicle pedestrian accident. And so, I was just stuck at home on the sofa and I received this call. I'm like, okay.
Back up for a minute, because I feel like there's always something that happens before your breakthrough.
Sure.
And so you're missing a big crucial piece to that, which is your accident. Because I know with myself, mine was I got COVID and I was near death. And after that, it was like after I said yes to God, there were so many downloads and it paved the way for my purpose. And so I feel like that needs to be shared.
Well, October 5th, 2021, I was struck and hit crossing the street, going back to work by an SUV. Had the right of way and, paying attention, looking at my surroundings, but he came up immediately fast behind me and made a right turn as I was crossing the walkway and, hit me, I would say chest to bumper or to grill. Knocked me up in the air off my feet and, I landed actually on my head and back. And unfortunately, it was a hit and run. They left me, pretty much bleeding out in the street. And I had the strength and the fortitude to get out the street. I still had vehicles passing me by, not to stop or not to say anything. So I knew I had to get out the street. And I crawled to the curb and lifted myself up on a fire hydrant and had to voice call, 911 because, unfortunately, I was bleeding profusely, from my head and my face. So my hands was wet with my own blood. And in doing so, the police arrived first, and there was some incidents before they arrived, but as he approached me, the 911 operator stayed on the phone with me the entire time, told me don't hang up, and I felt myself going or being falling unconscious or whatever it would have may been. And she said, well, no, don't hang up with me until they touch you. And the police arrived. They pulled up right in front of me, and I knew one of the police officers being coming into one of my my store locations, and I called out to him. I was like, "Hey, it's Larry," he said, "Oh my God, it is you," because I guess my face was hidden from the pool of blood. And he put on his blue gloves and approached me, and as soon as he touched me, I collapsed in his arms, and ended up being rushed, to ER. And through that, my God was with me the whole time, and he knew,
God's
what
grace.
what this was, and he had me in his arms. I felt him in his arms, and I called my brother, to let him know what was, going on, and for him to, not tell my mom, didn't
Oh
want
my
to
goodness.
put the
Yes.
stresses on her, knowing, how she is. And
Ooh,
I just
yes.
wanted someone to know where I was and what had happened. So, getting to the ER, it was a whole nother glory, I should call it.
Yes.
And
You were on your way to Texas though, right? Like you were getting ready to make a
yeah,
move.
I was getting ready to move to Texas, and about 3 weeks after, that particular date, I was to move to Texas on the 27th of October,
Okay.
to make my transfer for a new life that I so thought fit,
Yeah, right.
for myself, and I was slowed down literally.
It's not funny, it really is not, but
You know.
it's just looking back at how God works and how he'll shift. It's almost like a train track, and he'll guide that track to where you're supposed to be, but
Absolutely.
sometimes we're not obedient and we do our own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if you give yourself to the Lord,
Yeah.
and you listen, he'll guide you back. And so
Absolutely. And, I don't, some people say, oh, it happened for a reason. For me, when you're faith driven, he just never leaves you,
never, right.
and so through
He
the
was covering, for
accident,
sure.
he was covering me and also teaching me.
Yes.
I wasn't being taught a lesson, but he was teaching me his strength, and what he was able to do. And as I rode in that ambulance, to the ER, all I was doing was praying, and I said, God, if this is your will, keep my family and, show them who you are, because I
Amen.
know who you are.
Yes.
And I'll, if this is your will, I'll see you soon.
Amen.
But when
But thankfully it wasn't.
Absolutely. So when I got to the ER, the doctors and nurses, and bless them, they were rushing to do their thing. And, me being who I am, I found jokes.
Of course, I wouldn't be there if it wasn't jokes.
Yeah, I said, y'all need to hurry up so I can get to the dance floor tonight.
Yes. And I guess I'll share his nickname. It's El Boogie.
Yeah, for a reason.
One day we'll get a chance to see that. But I know, like, with our ministry, it's focused on mental health and just wellness and mindset. So I know an accident like that and being out of control of what your norm is. And, I'm sure it cost a lot and took away from yourself. You couldn't work. Thankfully, you're able to walk and be fully functionally and, healed for the most part.
Sure.
But what kind of toll, what did that look like when you're, I'm sure you were laying on the couch and just wondering what the heck? And
Well, at that moment, it was about 10 months after the accident, 9 to 10 months after the accident. And so here it is, me not working and receiving the income I'm so used to, and not being able-bodied and depending on other people. That's not me,
No.
And so it was despair and depression setting in. And so, I went upstairs and I got on my knees and I prayed, and I was like, hey, God, you are my strength, and I submit myself to you. Allow me to be your vessel. But in my selfishness also, or in my my mindset, I should say, I was thinking about those around me and those who I text every day and talk to, and the family and friends. Allow me to be a patriarch amongst them. But when you ask God for something, he doesn't think small as you do for yourself.
Yes.
He has something bigger and greater. And so when that phone call came of my friend who needed me to, come with them in business, I'm like, okay, and who knew? You know,
Yes.
that particular day, and that whole day was just anointed. You know, because the first stop was at a church that I had history with, and that me and the bishop or the apostle now, him and I knew of each other for over 10 years, and
Wow.
we had dinner together, and I visited
Okay.
his home, and he visited my home, and and having the financial work history together, and so it was welcoming arms with them. And once we completed our tasks there, and got their introduction with them back in alignment, then we had to make another stop, downtown. And I'm like, okay, all right, you got me for today. Let's do it. And walking into that office building, and coming around the corner again, I say, who knew?
Who knew?
Who knew?
9 months later.
Here we are,
Yes.
and it has been a great journey. I appreciate you for having the fortitude and obedience, and the way of sacrifice to stay in the wilderness with me, of all places. And
Of all places. That's kind of how our story got started, in the wilderness. We'll talk about that. This is going to be we have a podcast coming, Fearless Minds podcast, where we'll talk about everything under the sun, including relationships and the construct of how
Yeah.
that looks in business and just everything. We just want to put it out there and share to others that are going through the journey.
absolutely.
So I literally heard from the Holy Spirit to bring Larry to the wilderness. And we do have a property in Inkster, Michigan, which houses veterans. And so we went to the wilderness, and I'll let you tell that quickly. It's going to go over easily, but for the sake of time.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll get into how you can be a part of what we're doing.
Yep. Well, she came out and pretty much snatched me up out the chair, and was like, "Hey, you got to go to the wilderness." And at that point, I was of obedience, and I said, "Okay."
Explain what the wilderness is.
Well, in the physical, we have an alignment of trees on many acres across from the apartment building, but in spirit, it's the awakening. It's the new you. Is the
rebirth.
Yes, it's definitely a rebirth, because it definitely feels as though you're walking into a whole new world. And the weight that's lifted up off of you after the moment of going through the wilderness, it definitely feels as though you are new, and it's a rebirth of you. And so that's a quick synopsis of it. So the wilderness is the birthing of the new you.
Amen. Okay. And what kind of exercise did you have to do in the wilderness to let that go?
Oh no, not what you made me do.
Well, you're obedient.
And so walking through, we just looked at things of nature, things were in place.
The signs and wonders.
Yep, the signs and wonders. And there was butterflies, a white butterfly, several monarch butterflies, a blue butterfly, and those all have spiritual meanings. You can look them up, the spiritual meaning of those particular butterflies. And then she asked me to list 5 things that I want to get rid of myself. And actually, it was fairly easy for me to write those things down because I was already in a mindset of wanting to be a changed person. And so I was going over this, already in my own mind. And then also, too, the number one person who knows anything about you is you. You just have to be true to yourself. And so we did that, and she said, well, now, tear it out, rip it up, and bury it. And I said, okay. And she said, yeah, you will be released from those things, right now. And so I did. I buried them deep too. I say they don't have any chance of coming back and haunting me and attaching itself to me. And after that, we looked for more, signs and wonders, and wrote them down and looked up the spiritual meaning of those things. And then she said, "Well, write down 5 things that you want for yourself, to better yourself, in order."
Yes.
And
Not to cut you off, but I do believe I told you, and be specific with your wife, and I had no idea where that would go. So anyways.
I do slightly remember that, and I'm like, okay. And man, that wilderness boy is a strong entity.
It was,
It's a
yes.
strong
And
entity.
we also have a camp in Kingston, Michigan. We're going to bring a lot of different ailments to it. It's geared to bring back families and creating an atmosphere of unity and,
Education
teaching. Education, traditions. And we will be doing things like that, like the healing work. And I'm excited for this journey, and it's such a relief to have a partner to go along in this journey, because it can be lonely and it can be just, I don't know, it's just different for me this season.
When you were doing God's work, He supplies.
Yeah, for sure.
And, when you're doing it of yourself, that's when it becomes lonely.
That's true. I think it's more fulfilling.
Yeah.
It's just a different thing. I've never
Yeah.
experienced that before.
And absolutely, because everybody likes to be, pat on the back and adored, loved. But when it's a partnership and a true partnership, it makes it so much easier because you
Yes.
walk hand in hand together, and
No matter what.
Yeah,
I mean, it does get rough.
You're
It
not
does
bearing all the weight.
Yeah, for sure. And we definitely hold each other accountable.
Yeah,
I think that's like the number one thing that I know I do well. Silent Storm isn't for no reason, I guess you will say. But I'm just excited, and I thank you for being you and for being obedient to your calling and the way you care for me and our business and, our daughter now, I can say that, and especially King.
Don't you talk about King?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I welcome it. It's a new journey for me. It's something definitely new that I'm receiving day by day.
Sure.
And I asked you of, your patience, because I know I am. Again, the best person to know you is you.
For sure.
And so I know my, my quirks and quarrels and mishaps, and so. But I am who I am in love as well.
Yes.
And so I never, say things that I may have a tone to it, but it's out of love, because
Always.
I see what it needs, and I feed it and I water it, and it's for me as a man to lead.
For sure.
You know.
And I think that's important because we're our strengths and weaknesses all in one. So what you see, I may not see. And so together, it collectively makes sense. So I thank you.
Indeed.
And for other, couples or even singles out there, in the meantime, while you're waiting, you can get yourself together and heal. I spent like 9 years getting myself together and just waiting. And it's something that you have to be obedient to, and it just builds character. But if you get buried in your purpose and your work, when you're not looking and you're least expecting it, God will place someone in your life for your purpose. And so for the couples out there, I know it's not easy, but if you lean into the Lord and you're in your purpose with each other, it's just better. You're better together. That's our slogan.
That's our outline. And you definitely, have to submit, to each other. And, people have a misperception about that as well.
They do.
It's about, trusting in that person and
And balance.
Yep. And believing in each other, believing in, in you and I and all that other stuff in between, and coming together, and being honest and true and placing everything on the table, and you guys, to put it together, like puzzle pieces. I always say,
Sure.
dump it out on the table and just take your time. Excuse me. Just like a puzzle, you have to flip each individual piece over, to see, you match the colors up,
For sure.
you build the border, which is foundation. I'm big on that. I always say, it's about, you got to start building your foundation first, because it doesn't matter what you put on it. If your foundation is strong, it would never crumble.
That's right. Yeah. So that's an important word. Yeah, I'm speechless. No,
Now
it's
she is.
Yeah, now I am. But just to back to Fearless Minds, you can reach us on social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, fearlessminds.com, and there's a lot of resources that we can offer to you now. Not just the veterans, but just regular civilians and people. We also have our new partnership with Denson L. Centers. If you want to talk about that before we wrap up.
Sure, I can do that real quick. Yep, the Denson L. Centers for Recovery Support, led by Tamando Denson L. It's been a cool partnership, getting to know, him personally, and what him and his team brings to the table, and those who we have brought to him, they have been efficient to assist and help them in different types of services and housing and medical care and bill payment support, and then just that. Everybody is so robotic and so business-like, but they bring a different flavor. You know what I'm saying?
Do.
It's like
you wouldn't know it was a medical team because they're dressed like regular people. Yeah. They're down to earth, so easy to talk to, and I'm excited to partner with them. And already we've launched. What was our launch day? It was only like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
we've already helped a few people to find houses. And
April the 5th it was.
Yes.
Yep, April 5th, and like I said, there's been some critical, circumstances and situations they're assisting with. So their time allotment, to seeking what people need is just astounding.
It is, yes.
So I greatly appreciate them for that, and we're steadily growing our attachment to the community. So we need that definite support.
Yes, for sure. We have to wrap up, but you can reach us again at fearlessminds.com, and our number is 1-844-462-8423. Again, it's 844-462-8423. For our community resources, if you need or know anyone that needs help, we are here to help serve, and together we are truly better. So if you want to reach us, we are on Instagram and Facebook. We do have Comcast and Roku TV, as well as Apple TV, so you can find us there, WHPR 33 live on Facebook. You can find us there as well. I thank you so much for being here.
It's my
and
continued pleasure.
Being my partner, and we look forward to our works, our future podcasts. That'll be something
I'm excited.
Raw and uncut.
Get ready.
We'll get to see Uncle Willie's son. That's
They don't know.
the crazy East Sider. So I am Chief Silent Storm. My co-host Darwin Griffin will be back again next week. You'll see us back in 2 weeks. Stay tuned. And is there anything else you want to share or have a word of inspiration before we wrap up here?
Never give up.
That's simple.
And it's a common saying, but you never give up.
That's true.
And be who you are, but also always have, a love. Some people are just hard, and I was one of them, just hard. But, present yourself with love. And I don't mean, you have to go up and, hugging or kissing on folks. But I'm just saying.
Just show love.
Just show patience and love.
Okay, and we're going to wrap up. But also on our sign, it says it's okay to ask for help. So we'll leave you with that. Feel free to reach out to us directly, and stay tuned. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you for joining us.
Here at the Full and Fabulous Curvy Girl Project, we don't just focus on health, beauty, and self-esteem. We also offer an amazing summer program for young ladies ages 12 to 18. For more information, visit our website at fullandfabulous.org. See you soon.